Sobriety Essays number 63, My God Connection. My God Connection. My name is Chuck and I am an alcoholic. I have a deadly disease called alcoholism. It is a disease which is now recognized by the American Medical Association, for which there is no cure. There is a solution, but not a cure. The solution appears to be spiritual in nature, a power greater than the disease. I had no apparent problem with alcohol until age 40 and 16 years married, and then drinking slowly but steadily became worse until I was become a daily drunk, what is referred to as a functional alcoholic. There was still a house, a wife, a car, a job, and a complete loss of self-respect, a total loss of human spirit. I had destroyed a long-term marriage, alienated the affections of a daughter, and became a marginal employee, a daily drunk. On April 19, 1984, I had what I call a spiritual intervention. At 10:30 in the middle of a business meeting, wearing a three-piece suit, I had a thought go through my mind that if I took one more drink, I would die. Not quick, but a slow descent into an alleyway with a cardboard box. I got up and went looking for a guy that I knew that was an active member of AA. I have not drank since. At age 13, I had an experience that turned me away from any so-called God and away from my church and eventually away from any organized religion. I was on my way home from a catechism class that I hated beyond all reason. The church was having me memorize words and phrases that had absolutely no meaning to me, and no one explained what the words meant. I was riding my bike home on a curve on the road when a large dog started to chase me. I turned to kick the dog in the teeth and rolled over a 10-foot cliff, hitting a concrete path 10 feet down. The result was that the back of my skull was caved in and split down the side. I was confirmed by a bishop from the local church, as they did not know whether I was going to live or die. I have never trusted organized religion since that day. Religion is man-made. Spirituality is God-made. My connection with God. I entered a 28-day program and was locked up for 3 days. And the first evening I probably said the most profound prayer in my life. God, please help me. The man that carried the message from AA came down to visit me, and I told him, Howard, I can't find God. To which he chuckled and said, don't worry about it, Chuck. God's not lost. Then he added, maybe if you quit looking for God, maybe God will find you. I knew that Alcoholics Anonymous had something to do with God as the solution to alcoholism, but I didn't have a God. I got a sponsor, and he didn't care whether I believed in God or not. He said I was to say my prayers to God, that I had to say God please in the morning and God thank you at night. I had to keep my prayers down to less than 20 seconds or I would start praying for selfish things. He did not care whether if I believed in God or not. I prayed each morning, God, please help me not drink today and go to a meeting today. At 6 months sober, that marriage was still a disaster. I got a new sponsor and I talked about God. He said, Chuck, I would rather go through life believing in God, dying and finding out there wasn't one, than to go through life not believing in God and finding out there was one. For some reason that made sense. He also added, what is worse, going out and living in a gutter or going out and getting a gutter and running it right down the middle of a nice living room and dragging your loved ones in with you? That made sense to me too. At 9 months sober, I discovered sobriety. There is a difference. Being sober is not drinking. Sobriety is the ability to live comfortably and peacefully with me most of the time. Big difference. About this time, I discovered unconditional love. I had become suicidal and I didn't know how to change. I did not know how to let go of old ideas. Ended up in a hospital for a day, and my sponsor came there and walked me through that day. I had what I call a spiritual awakening. My sponsor would always end our conversations with, I love you, man. For some unexplained reason, unless there really is a God, I believed him. He loved me when I could not love myself. I came up with my own definition of love, which I still have 35 years later. Love is the ability to do something for someone else and not requiring or needing or wanting anything in return. I had 2 spiritual experiences in 10 months of sober. Lots of descriptions of spiritual experience. I call a spiritual experience a change in perception, a change in attitude, a change in living. I was driving home from a beginner's meeting and I had this thought go through my mind: tomorrow is none of my business, that tomorrow belongs to God. I simply turned my tomorrows over to the care of God. The weight of life was lifted from my shoulders. I have that feeling most of the time. Not all the time, just most of the time. It's a wonderful way to live. 2 weeks later, I had another spiritual awakening. I had a thought go through my mind that I could not fix my marriage. I could not make it work. So I literally gave my marriage to God. I can contribute to the marriage, but I couldn't fix it or make it work. That was God's business. I quit worrying about when we were going to get a divorce. At about 2 weeks before my 1 year of sobriety, my marriage just changed. The anger was gone. The past was gone. The marriage became one of God's miracles. That marriage lasted for a total of 51 years before God decided to take her home. Now, for the end of my conception of God, I was 13 months sober, became a model employee, a good husband, a responsible father, and I was sitting in my living room trying to work on the 6th step when I had a thought go through my mind. I have an incurable disease called alcoholism. I did not like that word, incurable, and I got angry with God. I told God in 4-letter words exactly what I thought of him, and right in the middle of this tirade, I got to laughing. 13 months earlier, I didn't even have a God to get mad at. How can you get mad at something that you don't believe in? From that day to this, I have a God of my very own. Wherever I am, he is. I have never felt alone since that day, not even when God took my wife home. I do not have a God that is described in a religious or religion document, or preached about by man, or preached about by men. This is a spiritual God who allows me to be human, to make mistakes, allows me to learn, and is always there when I ask for help. God is most pleased when I'm helping others. It is much easier to see God by looking back. My life makes no sense unless you add God to the equation. With God in my life, it becomes perfect sense. No matter where I am, no matter what I do, I am never alone. Wherever I am, God is. Chuck H.